What is a subtle sign that someone's life sucks? I worked in a large office environment for 30+ years, and over time I observed that the people who had hard lives often were the ones who were hyper into things like office Christmas or birthday parties. I think it was often the only celebrations they got to be part of. Wow. Over here, over planning a Christmas lunch and avoiding going home, it makes sense. Do you take the long way home? My house is west from work, but I go east. I just sit in my car and cry scrolling through cat Instagram accounts. They have good advice for people who've just experienced trauma. Or for how to handle oddly specific and fucked up situations. Yeah, I always feel sad when someone acts really well adjusted and mature after a horrible event. Shows that they have experience, sadly. I realized several years into my career that the reason I excelled as an ER tech, and subsequently RN, was because of childhood trauma. My brain was hardwired to not only navigate chaos but to expect it. Once I realized that, the facade collapsed, and it was only a matter of time before my mental health began to suffer in that environment. I'm still pretty cool, calm, and collected in critical/emergency situations. I just don't deal with them on a daily basis anymore. They don't get excited to go home after work/find reasons to stay at work longer. This is me right here. I'd rather life at work because I feel safer there than at home with my brother. A colleague pointed it out. Welp, sucks to be unemployed. This was me. I had a gym at work. I would always go after work to delay getting home until later. Then the pandemic happened and all hell broke loose. Stuck indoors with no escaping. I am still trying to crawl out of this pit. They look tired every time you see them. They're very interested in what you've got going on, but don't really share themselves. They're distracted. I feel that on a personal level. That's also a description of a private person with a toddler. Hahaha, was gonna say, that's the life of a working mom. We're tired and distracted but still happy. Sometimes, when they seem less excited or stop doing things they used to love, it might mean things aren't going well for them. After someone really close to me died, I quit my job and broke a lease on short notice, started a job in a new city, and quit all my hobbies for almost 2 years. I can't even explain why. I just snapped and convinced myself that nothing mattered. I feel that. I was diagnosed with terminal cancer and just haven't been doing much to make myself happy. I too love cooking. Not I just throw shit together just because I need to eat. I'm so sorry for your diagnosis. What do you think of leaving your recipes online as a legacy? People who will look up a recipe online are usually those who will cook with love and care. When they make your recipes become vehicles for their love and care. Super independent because they learned not to rely on anybody. Yup. That's a pretty good indicator for life, even if ages ago, pulled the rug out from under them. No safety nets. I feel this. Being a kid was a character-building exercise, but as an adult I get a lot of respect for being self-reliant and being the guy you call when you need help, so when I need help it's serious and all hands on deck roll up. Too often, in my experience, builds character is just an excuse for abuse. I'm now extremely suspicious of the phrase. Misappropriated anger. This right here. The meanest people are often the most unhappy. Yup, it's projecting their problems on someone else so they can yell at their problems. Shit, that's pretty deep. When you have nothing else, anger isn't the worst fuel to run on. When they look for happiness in other people, and their whole day can be ruined if a certain person says or does something that they don't like. This describes me heavily. I actually have no idea how not to do this. People always go, don't compare yourself to others, but my whole life I never find that it matters if I do this or not. I've got other people to do it for me, right? My employer will measure my work according to my coworkers, my bandmates will replace or supplant me if I'm not keeping up, my partners will place me in a hierarchy of their previous people, my parents will use times of my life as teachable moments for my siblings, and so on. At the end of the day, my self-worth and self-evaluation really doesn't mean anything, right? You might think I'm worth a dime and I might think I'm worth $1, but if I can't prove that worth to you, then I'm worth what you say I'm worth. Simple as. Disproportionate reactions. Their reactions to most things are normal or even low-key, but occasionally they have a huge response to something minor. Key sign of trauma. Why does that happen? I freaked out once over something so minor, I felt terrible about it and was very apologetic, but I could not understand even my own reaction. That happens to me if my emotional regulation is thrown off. Like at the end of the day, if I've spent my reserves of being calm and kind, I will probably be screaming at other drivers on the highway. I rationally know it's not a big deal and I'm being ridiculous, but I don't have the mental/emotional energy to simmer down. I've had to spend a lot of time meditating and doing therapy to be able to recognize when I'm getting to that point so I can lock myself in my bedroom and not explode at anyone. When something is offered to them, they always feel like they don't deserve it. They always politely decline any kind of offer. For example, if you know they are hard on money and you don't want to go out to eat alone, so you offer to pay for a meal for them to come with you. They may decline it not because they aren't hungry or don't want to hang out with you but because they feel they don't deserve to have their meal paid for. Usually some kind of sign of abuse of them being unworthy in the eye of a spouse or a parental figure etc. Update. I didn't expect this many replies. To clarify what I'm reading on a lot of them, there is no one size fits all. People can act this way for many different reasons, whether they were taught that giving was good and receiving was bad or for religious reasons. Maybe everything they have ever done with family or friends was transactional and they were held as an emotional hostage. Maybe somebody feels they disappointed others by asking for help like they were getting in the way. The list is endless and I have learned a lot by reading a lot of these replies. Many of these experiences aren't always labeled as abusive or toxic by those who go through them, and I think sometimes that can be part of the issue. It keeps people trapped in this way of thinking due to their experiences when it is not their fault that I end my eyes when your experiences cause you to feel you can't accept something from somebody without it coming back to bite you in the ass. That's abuse. They nonchalantly talk about traumatizing things like it's no big deal when everyone else is horrified. This is me when I was younger. Mostly because I didn't realize how many things in my life were so abnormal. My coworker and I were sharing stories that even the other EMTs on shift with us were horrified about. But, like, we're fine. Everything is fine. We're doing great. This might be a weird one, but people who are constantly unfazed. Bad things will happen, like the kind of bad things that make everyone freak out, and they just coast like it's just another normal day. I've seen enough shit since I was a kid. Once you learn to control that initial adrenaline rush in your fight or flight response, you'll be fine. Just takes experience. I do this and it freaks my partner out. He just can't understand that I can handle bad moments or bad life stuff. Though I'll admit, during positive situations or positive life moments, I tend to shut down or assume something is going to go wrong or there's a catch. It basically means you can't be shocked, but you also can't be excited. About just about anything. If you ask them what their life would be like in a perfect world, they can't even come up with an answer. They're too lost to even think about it. Or they are so mired and cramped that they give the first thing they think of, often specific and small, like, sink would be fixed. Got asked this and all I could say was, wouldn't have to worry about my phone service getting cut again. The look on her face made me realize how that sounded. I tell people my life goal is to not have any debt, be able to afford nice meals and have another living thing in my home with me. Also having a home would be nice. For me. The cleaning and house duties start slacking. Dishes stay in the sink overnight. I haven't swept for a while. But my faux face is on. Bright and happy. I know by the state of my lawn. Manicured, weekly, my mental health is great. Then the worse it gets, the worse my MH is. Go figure. Nothing phases them, like their house could be on fire and they're like, dang, wanna go smoke, you know. Crackhead outside my apartment complex threatened to kill me last week. All I could say was, alright, make it quick. He looked at me like I was the crazy one. Hasn't said jack to me since. Had a guy try to mug me once at my lowest. I told him, listen, my life is shit and if you come near me I'm fighting back and I don't care if I live or die, so best find somebody else. He gave a weird nod and went, alright, and moved on. When shit hits the fan and everybody is running around waving their arms screaming, you can spot them. There will always be one guy who just sorta looks a bit tired, rolls up his sleeves and starts methodically fixing the things within his power to do so whilst just blatantly ignoring the catastrophe around him. To everybody else the end is nigh. To him, this is Tuesday. The most annoying part is that, in addition to dealing with the crisis at hand, you also have to deal with people's panic. Most people are not even completely useless in situations like this, their contribution is negative.